Hey guys, it's Tarek with Cyclone FPV, and today, if you're joining me for session 2 or series 2 of this new daily live broadcast, today we're going to be finishing the what we worked on yesterday, which was the $100 build. I did some work last night, not on the quad, but just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the VTX and the camera, and I've come up with a couple different options actually because I'm not really sure. I've got to be very careful to make sure this stays within budget. So I'm working on a few things right now, and I'm going to run them by you here real quickly. I am waiting to see my feed come up here, and it's not, so bear with me 1 second. I'm not able to make sure that on this part we are up and running, so let me just verify on my end here real quick. Sorry, 1 second. And let's see what we got. Okay, I see this here. There we go. I see it here. It's just not coming through on my other phone, I guess, so I'll just put this one in its place. Bear with me, and I will swap these out, and we will get going, rock and rolling here. So give me 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Hey, Dustin and Brandon. Guys, I appreciate you. Romeo, everybody, I appreciate y'all tuning in. All right, so let me just screw this in here, and we should be good to go. All right. So what we're looking at, and I'll get some camera angles here going. So let me just kind of zoom in, and let's do a, you know how I do it, it takes me forever. But let's see if I can make this work. There we go. We'll scale this down again. There we go. All right, and we'll go this route. Okay, so obviously this is what we're working on right here. We got to where we got the receiver put in and connected. And I made a housing. What I did was I went and started looking at the all-in-one camera with the VTX built in. It's a pretty affordable piece and will work well. Now I'm trying to figure out, and I'm going to take the lens off here because I don't need the lens to be on while I'm working on this. But I was trying to figure out how I was going to get this to go on here. And I've got it cut to where it can sit, but I don't know if it's going to fit in here. So that's kind of one of the things that we're going to work on today. Hopefully this one will fit. I'm still going to keep working on this, but if this does work, then it's only 2 wires and the VTX is running. So we're going to try to figure out what options we have. But right now what we did is we got the receiver put in, and the XT60 here is going to be pretty much however you want to mount it. Now I will usually on a build like this just put the XT60 in and mount it directly to the board. For me, it's been a pretty successful way to do it. However, I have a feeling that most people are going to want to add the wires to it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and get started with that real quickly, and then we should be able to wrap this up pretty soon, and then I get to introduce you guys to the new, well, my pilots. They put me to the challenge of doing the sub 100 frame, and it actually, they gave me a goal of hitting 75 grams, and looks like we came in between 71 and 73, so that's going to be pretty cool. I'll explain a little bit more on that as well, but let me go ahead and get started on this first. So I grabbed some wiring here earlier, and this is going to be my XT60 cables. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cut and get started. And I'm going to change the camera angle here only because I'm going to have to use the old man glasses, the magnifiers again. But let me go ahead and just kind of get started here and show you guys exactly how we do this setup. So first thing is that I'm going to use 14 gauge wire and get this going. So let me go ahead and trim off a little bit of the pieces here. And like we did yesterday, we're going to go ahead and put it into our flux paste here so we can tin this up. All right. Hey, Brandon, how you doing, bud? Hey, it's good to see you guys. Dwayne, how you doing, sir? All right, so we're going to get going here. Enrique, we're going to see you, probably this weekend, I guess, right? Probably best. I know we got to work on one of your quads. All right. So let me get going with this. Hey, thanks, Menace. I appreciate you very much, my friend. All right, so let me get the old man glasses here in order and give you guys a different angle to look at. Let's do it this way. Ready? And you don't need my face on there, so let's just go like that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start getting get our XT60 ready. And I'm just going to go ahead and tin it real quick. I just want it to kind of hold. I don't really feel like fastening these wires down right now. So let's just see if we can get this tinned up without me having to fasten it down. All right. Okay, so that looks like it's good to go. And now we'll get the XT60 fastened in place. Where's the rubber band? Here we go. All right. So real quick way I'm just going to do is strap a rubber band around this. That'll allow it to kind of just clamp lightly on here. And we're going to go ahead and get this mounted. So the next thing is to drop some solder to our area here. And then just kind of lift the soldering iron up and onto the strands there, and you've got a very solid connection. Turn it around. Now you don't want to clamp onto this too tight because this plastic will get hot very quickly, and you don't want to sit there and press it in. So you just gonna clamp it enough to where it's holding in place, and then while that's hot, just go ahead, pass over, and then just lift up the soldering iron above onto the strands, and you'll end up with a pretty nice, whoops, I slipped there, hold on a second, pretty nice connection, minus the little slip up I just did. There we go. And then wait for it to cool. All right, so we've got our two solid connections there. Now we're gonna go ahead and put some heat shrink on that. Let me grab some heat shrink here real quick. You probably need about, depending on what your comfort level is with this, I would say about 15-20 millimeters of heat shrink. So just kind of snip that off. And we're gonna go ahead and get this prepped and ready to mount onto the board. All right, now make sure that these are cooled off, because the heat shrink will actually start to shrink up as you're passing it down the wire, and then it won't fit over where you need it to fit over. And then let me just kind of get rid of some excess solder here. Let me put that under the magnifier here. All right, perfect. Okay, so now let's see if we can make this. All right, first one's on very good. Go ahead and get the second one on here. Second one's on real good. All right, so we're set with that. Now we're just gonna go ahead and heat it up and have it fastened. All right, and so for that, this portion of it is done. It's solid and protected. And now we're gonna go ahead and get the rest of it connected here. So again, you're gonna go ahead and just strip some of the wire. And here you might wanna just take a little bit more off, because we're gonna play with this a little bit and make sure that we get the right amount. So we're gonna go ahead and strip that off like that. See if I can zoom in just a little bit. There we go. There, I think that should be okay. All right, so, and then we'll go ahead and dip this again. Twist them up. And we can hold it again using our snips here and apply solder to get that ready. All right. So now we'll turn this side up. All right, let me check the other side. Yep, that's good. All right, now let's prep the board, the flight control, or I'm sorry, the PDB. And I'm gonna go ahead, I think I put flux on it yesterday, but just to make sure, we'll go ahead and reflex that real quick. All right. All right, now the way I'm going to do this, and it should turn out pretty good here. Usually I would do this before I put the board in, but I wanted to make sure it would fit. I don't feel like taking it all out now. So the idea here is you got to be really careful not to overheat your board, right? And so the way I usually do this is I will get on here and just start passing over the solder real quick. And I'm not going to sit on there too long because I don't want the board to heat up too much. But I'm just going to kind of put a ring around there, right? And you'll see it now. It's all right. It's not too hot. But here's where then you want to do the rest of it. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically come in here and real quickly make this circle pattern while you apply some solder, and you seal that hole off right there. That's exactly what I'm looking for, okay? And you're going to do the same thing again on this side, and just go quickly because it'll spread pretty quick. There you go. So now you've got your 2 holes sealed off there, right? And we're going to let that cool down now. Look on the bottom, everything looks good. And the idea behind this is we're going to pass the wire through, and we're going to heat it up and push it through like this, and then complete the solder on the top. And this way it's got a pretty strong hold on the top, and then we may add some on the bottom. But for right now, the main issue is I'm going to come from underneath and get this done. So let me find my XT60 plug. Here it is. All right. So we know that the ground is going to go on this side, right? So, I mean, obviously we see the ground label there. And I'm just going to kind of find something here to prop this up with. Maybe just like that. I guess maybe like this. Hopefully this doesn't move too much, but we'll see. All right. Now, I'm going to heat it up. And I'm going to push this cable right through, just like that. Okay? And now it's going to stay there. And while that's cooled off, I'm going to go ahead and heat this one up. I may just be better holding it in my hand at this point. And you could fasten yours any way you wish. I mean, on the XT60s, it's kind of how you prefer and how you plan to mount. Let me just see if I can push this through here without causing too much heat. I really wish I had something. There, maybe this will hold. All right, so let's see what we got here. Cannot seem to get a good grip while looking at this, but let's see. So we want to heat the circle up here and pass our wire. Let me make sure I'm on the right spot. Yep. All right, give me 1 second and we'll get this to come through. I just can't seem to get a grip on this real quick the way I have my table set up right now, but here, maybe like this I'll be a better chance. Well, hold on. Let me apply some to the bottom here because I see on this side I did not tin these strands, so it's not passing the heat through like I was hoping. Let me just go ahead and tin these up real quick. All right. Okay, now with this done, it's if you have the excess come through, go ahead and just snip it off, right, just like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over now, and I'm going to apply the rest of the solder to make this kind of stay in place properly, and make sure that we have a very solid connection throughout the entire thing. So there's one. There we go. We've got our 2 good connections here. I will have to clean this part up right here, so bear with me on that. I'll do that in a little bit. All right, so now we've got our XT60. So now we can power this straight from here. We're good to go with that. And the only thing left to do now is, hey, Lawrence, how you doing, bud? The only thing left to do now is going to be I want to start trying to fit this case on here. The rest of the frame on here, and see if everything is going to line up properly. And then we can work on the VTX and figure out a solution for that. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hot glue down my receiver connection here. You don't have to do much, but I do this just to protect the connection, and I'll do that on the on pretty much almost all the connections here. So this is going to dry, this is going to cool off real quickly, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started on fastening the system down. So we'll put our fasteners on real quick. Get our last one on. I don't think that's going to be in the way, but let me just make sure. It looks like I got one of those initial wires in the way there, so let me go ahead and move it. Let me find my tweezers here, wherever I put them. Let's grab another pair. All right. We're going to go ahead and, this one wire that's right here, I've got it turned in such a way to where it's kind of getting in the way of this fastener going down. So I'm going to go ahead and come in from the other direction real quick, and that's my 5 volt right there. Let me go ahead and remove that. Now I'll put the fastener down and then I'll re-put that wire. I did not take into account that I'd be putting that there, so be better off coming in from the other angle. All right, now let me go ahead and put that back down. There we go. Okay, so we've got our ground and everything, our 5-volt, everything looks good there. And now we're going to go ahead and start assembling the frame, the rest of the frame. Yeah, me too, Dwayne, me too. The other thing is I do want to go ahead and apply some hot glue here, only because this is a flex point and I don't want it to start shredding up. So let me go ahead and just kind of get something on here to keep it nice. There we go. I'm going to let that cool off real quick. While that's cooling off, we'll look at the rest of this and we can start putting the frame together, and then from there we will figure out where we're going with the VTX and everything else. Plus we also have to mount the receiver to the top of the plate. This is a one-shot protocol on these. This is going to be one shot. Remember, this is coming off of a NACE 32, so you'll be running a one-shot ESC protocol on here. Let me get this on here. I will re-put the zip tie in a second. This zip tie was too close to where the mount is, so I want to make sure it's identical. There we go. Okay, there's one, there's two. Head. Okay. And then we have the last mount right here. All right. So now we're good to go with this, and now we can start playing with the top plate and seeing how we want to mount this receiver. So top plate sits just like this. We've got plenty of room, as you can see, to still put anything that we need to. But for the receiver itself, my idea was to just basically try to fit it in this direction or the other way, and run the wires up through any of the openings that the quad comes with. So, but the other thing, like I said, is I'm still trying to figure out where I want to put the camera. Now, this was one option that I worked on last night, and on the pro and con, I made this enclosure last night for it because the camera actually doesn't look like this. Hey, what's up, Jeff? How you doing, bud? Nice to have you. I know you've been busy with all that snow. Sucks. I know. One day we'll get onto the waterproofing a little bit more. I've got a little container and our stuff ready for the waterproofing episode, so we'll go ahead and do that. So my thing here is getting this camera in here with the piece on board, right? So it's all-in-one VTX. The only problem I have is really getting this thing to mount properly. And so I created this enclosure, but I said I would do everything with you guys and not do anything ahead of time. And so I didn't get to test the enclosure to see how it would fit. So we're going to do that now and see if I made any progress with that. And if not, then I'll come up with another method. Now, given that there are no goggles with this setup, I'm not really too focused on this, but I know that everybody's probably going to have a set of goggles. And I'm going to push these wires out for now, just because the way I've put the wires in, they're in the way of this mount, but I can easily just rework them behind the standoff. So let me just kind of get this in. All right. Let's see if I can get that to stay. Okay, now if that's going to stay, I can put the top back on. Make sure that that's not in the slot there. So there we go. All right, now I'm going to fasten this temporarily so I can just see what I'm working with here. See what we've got. What's up, Bryce? All right, let's see what we got. Make sure these are on right. Yeah, they're both slotted in. Okay. All right, so I'm going to see if I can get this to somewhat sit, and it does look like it'll stay. I have a feeling that this may be, now the only downside is working this to be at an angle. I'm not really sure where I would put this for an angle, but I could make the enclosure to stand out a little bit, and if it did, you'd probably be able to get about a 15-degree angle out of this camera and still be able to fasten it. So it'll be something that I work on, but most likely for now, this will be the camera that is, I'm thinking this camera will be included in this build only because it's got the VTX built in with it. And you know, if whatever enclosure I come up with for this, I'll just provide the STL. And if you guys have 3D printers, you can easily print them and put your enclosure in. It should be no problem at all. So let me just assume for a second that I can bring the screws back, and this unit would be able to be mounted somewhat similar to like probably like that. Now I've removed the lens, but it basically would sit like this, and then you just close it off. So I think that this will solve any issues with VTX as well, and definitely stay within the affordable range of the 100. And all you have to do then is just take the two wires here and just put them in. So for right now, I'm just going to continue with where I'm at on this one and see what else we have left. So the next thing I was doing was going to fasten the receiver, right? And those cameras, I mean, I've used them in the past. I actually have one on one of my, where's that small build? It's right here. This is one that I'm also going to be showing you guys. This is actually the smallest build I've ever made. And I just made it a couple days ago. So it's kind of funny because it's extremely fast. And I think the more I try to make indoor quads, the more I just make indoor racing quads. But let me show you this one. So this is this tiny one, right? Now this is a really awesome thing, and I'll be presenting this as soon as I'm done testing it. But that's a full build, and that's the same camera right there. Now I mounted it on top because I haven't made an enclosure for it yet. I just came up with this enclosure last night, but it's the same camera. But I mean, this sucker is, I think, 68 or 70 grams fully loaded, and flies a 3S LiPo, so there's no issues with that. But it is a good camera. It does fly very well, and it's very tiny. But let me get that out of the way. I was just showing you that, I mean, the camera is a decent camera, but because it's got the VTX built on, it makes it extremely affordable right now for this project. Okay, so let's get going with the receiver. And the idea here, and I'm going to play around with this a little bit, is to get this receiver mounted. And I think to mount it, I'm just going to go ahead and use some double-sided tape and then zip tie it. So let me grab some double-sided tape. There we go. And so we'll go ahead and just apply that right here. Let me cut it. And I've had quite a few of you since yesterday ask me about when they're going to be listed for sale. I'm gonna put these on sale on the website today. Based on what I've received already, I have a feeling we're gonna sell out in a day, but I don't know yet. But just look for it. And again, it's a $100 build, comes with the transmitter, and basically you get the parts and you just build it, assemble it, follow the video, and you should have no problem rock and rolling here pretty quickly. All right, so if we put the receiver, this is actually going to work out pretty nicely, I think. So I think that 2 zip ties on the back. Oh, that's actually too, that's going to be too small of a hole for that zip tie to clamp on. Let me see how I'm going to do this. I may go the other route then and go from the center hole here. Let's test it out and go this way. Okay, that's going to hold nicely. Then we'll go the other route. Well, Dustin, I don't know, because the idea was to... Hold on a second. How did I put that in? I want to make sure I repeat the same steps. So I think I went like this. No, I must have gone like this. That can't be right. Hold on. Now I'm just losing my mind. So when I put this in, I want to make sure I do these identical. So this is sitting, let me look at this again. Okay, so this was on the outside like this. All right, yeah, that makes sense. The idea was to make something with the controllers, but I'm sure that I can make something work. But the whole purpose was to make a $100 bundle that came with the transmitter. But I'm sure that, like I said, if you have the transmitter, and I know you do because you just picked one up from me, so you wouldn't need the transmitter on this. I'm sure I can work something out with you, bud. I'll have to shout at you later on it, but we'll make something happen, whether it's on this one or a different one. But I want to make sure that I have enough available. So, all right, we'll go this route. Let's see if we can go this route. Okay, so we'll come up here. And I think I can go ahead now and fasten the top on. Would have rather come out somewhere farther than right next to each other. Let me see if I can edit that a little bit. That may work actually. I think I'm going to go that route. So we'll pass in through here and just keep the wires kind of at a distance from each other. All right, take some heat shrink. Let me find one that I like. Guess I'll go with yellow because that seems to be the color I've been picking lately, so bear with me a second. Let me grab some. All right, and let's see. Yep, that'll work out pretty good. Let me go ahead and get this shrunk down real quick. And as you heat this up, I guess I should have fastened one screw on here. I'll come back. Let me fasten that screw real quick because I don't want this thing moving around while I'm doing this. Let me go ahead and fasten that. the other one done. And this thing will kind of remain still while I finish the antenna here. All right, so I'll get started on the other one, and then I'll show you what we're going to do, and we should be good to go. Okay. All right, now, as you're heating it up, right, I mean, one of the things I would recommend is when you're heating it up, go ahead and put a light bend to it, and then just kind of hold it a second when you remove the gun, and get that bend to stay. That heat shrink is going to kind of cool off in that position that you bent it in. And it's just a better position to have them kind of going, hopefully, in a perpendicular style, as close as we can get to it with such long antennas. Excellent. All right, so now we've got our antennas up and everything's fastened in. We can put the last couple screws in here. There we go. I'm just going to kind of hot glue around that silicone that I opened up there on the wire. For right now, I'm not too worried about it, but I want it to be secure. And then we'll go ahead and put our zip tie back in that I had to take off, and we will have pretty much a good build here, almost complete. So, all right, there we go. All right, so as it stands right now, looks like what we have, and we've got room here. And like I said, I mean, the housing on this camera, my guess is that it's going to end up sitting, and I trust me, I understand that there's not much angle movement here, but this is kind of a give and take. So, you know, one of those things where to get this to fall in line and also use this camera's, you know, to end up with a pretty decent camera that's going to work well. This quantum system, I like it. And it will fit snug right in there, and then that housing will be able to fit perfectly. I mean, I tried to get it to where it would be just at the right width, and then the screw holes will line up and you'll be able to fasten that in. Again, I did take the lens off. Let me do something here so I can kind of show you guys how I made this, and then you'll get the STL file and you'll be able to knock this out on your own if you have a 3D printer. If not, just let me know, but for most everybody, I'm starting to see now a lot of people have 3D printer. Now on the top one, I didn't mount it using the on the smaller quad like you can see here. I did not mount it using an enclosure, and I'm kind of okay with that. The cameras are pretty sturdy, but if you take a big hit to the antenna, it may affect it. But let me show you what we're working with now, okay? So, and I did grab another one here, a brand new one in a box. But this this setup here will allow for any other cameras. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this out real quick. All right, so now let me grab the new one that I had. I just have to find, oh, it's in my pocket, sorry. All right. Now, one of the things that I did do was to get this out is I removed this enclosure here that it comes with. So if you do want to use a 3D printed enclosure, then you basically, if you use the one that I send, then you have to get it out of this piece, and you have to be very careful. It's not difficult, it's just take your time. And what I did is I slowly pried it out. So I'll show you exactly. You pull the tabs off there because the tabs are pretty much holding it, and then you just start prying it off, and it'll just kind of pop right out. So let me just get on this side now. I'll just slowly work. Once you get the bottom piece, the bottom of it will usually come out quicker. And then I think if you just start applying pressure on there and then just moving the top piece, you'll slowly just pop the, like I said, just take your time. There's no rush on this, but you want to pop this out. And then now it's pretty much almost out. Let me just go ahead and push there, and there you go. So there is the camera system right there. And then what I did was I designed this little thing, and it just snaps right in. And let me get this wire unwound. Okay, just snap right in just like that. Everything fits nice and snug right there. And there is a, where did I put that back plate? Here it is. And I on the final STL, I actually have this piece cut out for the wire to come out, but I did not do that on this trial. This is a quick print just to see if I could get it to fit. And so the wire will actually come out of the bottom, but let me just show you how this is going to work. All right. Hey, David, how we doing, bud? And I added on this, on the STL file, you'll see, and on this print, there's the, let me get this screwdriver out. There's the holes here, so you can mount it to a stand or any kind of mount that you want. I mean, it doesn't come with that ability. Usually it's just double-sided taped, but I prefer the enclosure. So this was a quick design that I know fits, and I used the RunCam mount to test it, and it worked just fine. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'm just going to put 2 screws in to hold it temporarily right now. But I used this as my template, I guess, basically to make sure that it would fit, and it fits and it lines up with the holes. So if you do have a mount, or you decide you want to put it on a mount, now you can with one of these cameras. This little enclosure is really good for something like that, and you've got your VTX built in. So I mean, it would work just fine. And on something like this, you could, I don't know, kind of get creative, and you've got some slots up here. You do have the holes in the front if you want to run your wires behind. But for me, since it already has the holes on the side here for the carbon fiber, I figured we would go that route. And so this would basically just come right in here. If I can just get it through my fat fingers here, hold on one second. And you'll wire that to any, well, I'll go this direction, and you'll wire it to any 5-volt pad. All right, so you have your camera. And it fits perfectly snug right in there, like I said. And so you end up with something that kind of looks like this, right? And like I said, I know you're going to want to angle it later, and you're more than welcome to. I mean, you can just, I can extend the print so that it pushes out a little bit, but for right now, the way this sits nicely, you do end up with your camera and your VTX, and then the enclosure will help a lot. You could put it on top, you could figure out however may make it work better, but this is the best way I could figure out to get the camera and the VTX in at the price, that point that we're talking. So there's the final, somewhat of the final design here. And so now what I did is I also grabbed the, you'll notice that on the motors, and I used all counterclockwise motors, meaning the top fasteners are are counterclockwise based. But I also took my right here, my fasteners here, like this one that doesn't have, it's a locking fastener, right? So I put that, and I'm just going to grab me a quick prop real quick. So give me 1 second. And then we'll go ahead and fire this up and listen to some tones. Now, let me just see what size we're able to put on here. So that's a 5-inch. That should be no problem at all. I will throw some props in with this build. They're not going to be racecraft. The motors will support, well, the motors are comfortable at 3S. I have flown 4S on these motors. They seem to do just fine, but I wouldn't try to sit there and you know, go nuts on them. But yeah, they'll do fine on a 3 or 4S. But 3S is what was recommended. Sorry, I'm getting up to get some props here real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, I just wanted to grab because these are the kind of props that I'm going to include with this. So it'll be like a bullnose prop. Sorry, I had to step away because I had to grab them from behind me here, but let me show you kind of what you can expect. Yeah, I have flown 4S on these and I have had no problem, but you know, it's also going to depend on how you're flying, how hard you want to push it, but you should be okay. All right, so there we go. There we go. I think this is the one I used. Sorry, bear with me a sec. I gotta make sure I got the right. Well, I may not have, hold on. I had multiple ones out here. Let me just check. No, that might not be it. Hold on, let me find the right piece. Let me see. I had these labeled at one time to fit, and I don't now, so I'm trying to find the right ones. Sorry. For right now, I'll just put these on, just so I can kind of give you an idea of what it's going to look like. All right, let's just do that. Yeah, it's going to be pretty. I mean, it's a pretty stout quad. I promise you, it will definitely perform like you're hoping. There, let me just do that. I will find the right self-locking right now. I just don't know where I put them. I thought I had them laying out, but I tried to clean up a little bit, and I must have set them aside. Let me see if this one's one of them. No, I don't know where I put them. I'll have to find them. I'll go looking and I'll find them for you guys here in a little bit. But for right now, we'll just use what came with it. And you can always Loctite it on there, but let me just get these cranked down. Okay, and so for the most part, and we'll go ahead and crank this up. Let me do a test real quick, make sure that we are looking good, make sure everything's safe. Good. Looks good. All right. Give it a shot and see what we got. And I will grab a lipo here in a second just so I can kind of show you guys what we're looking at. But just for the sake of testing this real quick and make sure I get a tone. Let me see. Excellent. That's what I was hoping for. So that's all working good. Yeah, I know. Leave me alone a second, would you? I don't need to be hazed. Thanks, David. You're right. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Now, I'll show you with the lipo and the strap what you're looking at as far as how it's going to look. So let me grab a lipo real quick. All right, so I'm going to grab a 3S Sugar Rush for now. Let me grab a lipo strap. I'll use a 20mm for right now. I think yesterday I used a 15, but I'm just going to see for this if a 20mm will fit. Excellent. So that's going to fit without any problem. There we go. It's going to be kind of long, so I may do a 235 lipo strap. This looks like it's going to be a little long, but let's just see. I don't know how long it'll be, but I've definitely got smaller ones here, or you may have smaller ones. I'm just picking this one, and it happens to be the longest lipo strap I carry. But there it is. All right, so at the end of the day, and we'll put a silicone pad underneath there, obviously. So at the end of the day, it looks like we've got ourselves a very good, should be a very well flying, and I'm very familiar with these motors. I flew them at the beginning. It's all I would fly with these. So the next thing to do on this is going to be to just, hey Victor, how you doing, bud? The next thing to do would be to just get this on beta flight and get it programmed, which I will do, and show you guys how it's flying. But what you're seeing here is a setup outside of the battery is what you will end up with for the $100. So you'll end up with, again, let me show you the controller. So you'll end up with the Evolution controller, which is right here, right? And I'll try to give you a top view and try to clean up this desk a little bit. Hold on. That's an absolute mess. So hold on. Let me move this all out of the way. Put these back. All right, guys. Okay, that's a little bit cleaner at least. Hopefully we got a nice little clean area. Okay, so you end up with the quad exactly this setup minus the lipo. Okay, so the lipo is not included in the setup at all. That's something you'll have to provide it. For the $100, I couldn't do it. You'll end up with the integrated VTX camera. Now, remember, you'll put all these together, and I'll continue to work on different mounts for this. Different enclosures, and I'll send you the STL file so you guys can also work on them and see, kind of do how you wish to do it. But I did test it, and it works great. And like I said, on this quad right here, which is my Super Rocket Mini one that I just finished building yesterday, that camera, you can see the actual size of it here, and it works phenomenally. So you'll be, you get the camera, the board, the PDB, the motors, the props, and the frame, and everything you need to complete this build. And let me go here. Bear with me a second. Okay, so there's my ugly face again. So you do get everything to complete the build. The build is $100, and like I said yesterday, the value of the components are above $100 clearly. But I grab things in bulk, and after listening to everybody, and I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, I just don't like that things are coming down more to the money, and people aren't able to enter the hobby. So there's whatever you do, please understand there's no money being made on this at all. It is more of an effort to get people into their starter quad, do a kit. I mean, I've got dads and their sons and moms and their sons, whoever, trying to do some projects like this, and I think this is a great way to get people into the hobby. So that's the kit. It's $100. There's a couple things that I will mention ahead of time. Is there's a ton of these motors that I have. I will not bind myself to which motor. I mean, I'm gonna grab Tim, hold on one second. I'll show you, because I've got that battery sitting right here. I'm gonna grab the motors, and it's not like one's better than the other, but I can't get extremely specific on them. They're all gonna be the built-in ESCs. I mean, if I show you one of the 15 bins I have of them, you'll understand why I'm saying this. And it's because, I mean, this bin alone has 2204s, 2206s, 2208s, 2100 kV, let me hold that up, 2100 kV, 2200 kV, 2500 kV. So my goal is to try to keep things as close as possible. I would like to be able to match counterclockwise and clockwise motors together. But there are, in some cases, we have like more clockwise, and obviously through the programming in BL Heli, you can change the rotation of the motors, and you're good to go. And as far as the camera goes, I did play around with the other one yesterday. The problem is by the time it's done, the goal was to make this thing at $100 and to also make sure that there wasn't a drop in quality. And since I've tested this camera with this VTX built on board, I do like it a lot. And I think with just the right enclosure, it'll be with no problem at all. I mean, seriously, not a problem. Now, you don't have much play here, But yeah, I mean, you could easily hot glue the camera in. It's not going anywhere. It's such a snug fit. I mean, if you look, I'm holding the quad up by the lens of the camera. I mean, this thing is in there pretty tight. So I don't think you're going to have any issues with that at all. Again, $100, that's it. And that'll be the first of our $100 builds. I will do more. We're going to be limited on quantities, guys, but that's it. And you'll find it on the website shortly. Get in there while you can, though, because I did have a lot of people write me yesterday saying they wanted it. I will do some test flights with this, but take my word for it. These motors fly awesome. And they were, as a matter of fact, I'll show you something here real quick. They are on my Leviticus. This is the newest frame I've made, but I've modified it since this one. This was last week's frame. And let me kind of see. Yeah, so you can see this. This is the new Leviticus, one of the new ones. I'm running the Black Widow motors on here. Okay, so just to give you an idea, I love these motors. And these were pumping out on a 4S hard. And I actually have a video. This one took a huge hit and it survived greatly, but so I wouldn't be putting in something that I won't use myself. And these are the motors that I'm using right now on this build, so at least you'll know that it's good. So that's that, guys. And now I think what I'll do is I am going to start working on the second $100 build, but we're an hour into this right now, and I did want to introduce something else to you guys, something that I just finished about an hour ago, thanks to my pilots. Let me see if I can find it here. And also, oh yeah, sorry, Tim, I know you asked me about this. Tim, so getting back to this small build, right? So this is going to be one of the newer builds. Also, it's a modification of the one that I introduced last week. And what I did was, you know, this does not have the prop guards on it. This is kind of a beast of a quad. And I did not put prop guards on this one. I wanted to kind of push the limit on it and see how small we could make it and how well it would fly. And so this actually came out really awesome, and I'll show you here with the LiPo where we're at. So I used a 3-cell 500 mAh high voltage LiPo, and I'll give you an idea of that here in a second. And so here is the LiPo that I used. I don't know if you can see that. I guess I should change this picture around. I'm sorry, I didn't mean my face to be the biggest thing here. Okay, so here we go. And let me zoom in right there. All right, so this is the setup I did. And let me make sure I got this right. And this will actually fasten like so. And there you have it. And that is awesome. I mean, this sucker moves. It moves. Hey, Aaron, how's it going, bud? I mean, it moves. I love it. I love it. And give you an idea of that camera in action, because I've got it right now. So I'm just going to grab as I dropped everything. Hold on one second. I want to show you I want to show you this camera. Sorry, I'm going to grab some box goggles, some Ishin box goggles, so I can try to give you a good picture of what the camera does. Let me see if I can get that tuned in real quick. Whoops, I just had it. God darn it, every time I get to it, I hit the button again. Sorry. There's the camera. I don't know if you guys... Oh wait, you're looking above, right? So there you go. There. All right. So that's the camera on here. Oh wait, hold on. I have a feeling my, I don't know if you guys, if we're back recording, but I think my LiPo or my VTX is actually interfering at this point. Let's see if we come back real quick. Okay, so I'm back. Okay, I have a feeling this is the VTX interfering, but let me just kind of show you real quickly. So this is the image from the camera, all right? And as you can see, I mean, it's a very good image, very clear. I don't know, let me see if I can show you a couple things. There's my wall of quads right there. I don't know if you can see that with the thing, but right there. All right, so I'll quit screwing around, but there you go. Okay, so hopefully the connection is back for you guys. Let me go ahead and disconnect this VTX. Let's see. Let's see if we come back, guys. I'm waiting to see if you can confirm that we're back. I think that's a VTX interruption right there on me. That's my fault. Let's see if we get it back. Are we back? Hopefully we're back. I'll wait for you guys. Yeah, I know. I think it's because I plugged in that VTX. Let's just see if we can get this back up and running here real quick. Hang tight. Hang tight. Let's see. Hang tight.